You're watching the History Fella channel. In this video we're looking at the Battle of Williamsburg, or the Battle of Fort Magruder. The Battle of Williamsburg took place on May the 5th, 1862, in York County, James City County, and Williamsburg, Virginia, as part of the Peninsula Campaign of the American Civil War. It was the first pitched battle of the Peninsula Campaign, in which nearly 41,000 Federals and 32,000 Confederates were engaged, fighting in an inconclusive battle that ended with the Confederates continuing their withdrawal. Following up the Confederate retreat from Yorktown, the Union division of Brigadier General Joseph Hooker encountered the Confederate rearguard near Williamsburg. Hooker assaulted Fort Magruder, an earthen fortification alongside the Williamsburg Road, but was repulsed. Confederate counterattacks directed by Major General James Longstreet threatened to overwhelm the Union left flank until Brigadier General Philip Kearny's division arrived to stabilize the Federal position. Brigadier General Winfield S. Hancock's brigade then moved to threaten the Confederate left flank, occupying two abandoned redoubts. The Confederates counterattacked unsuccessfully. Hancock's localized success was not exploited. The Confederate army continued its withdrawal during the night in the direction of Richmond, Virginia. When Confederate General Joseph E. Johnston unexpectedly withdrew his forces from the Warwick line at the Siege of Yorktown, the night of May the 3rd, Union Major General George B. McClellan was taken by surprise and was unprepared to mount an immediate pursuit. On May the 4th, he ordered Cavalry Commander Brigadier General George Stoneman to pursue Johnston's rearguard and sent approximately half of his Army of the Potomac along behind Stoneman, under the command of Brigadier General Edwin V. Sumner. He also ordered Brigadier General William B. Franklin's division to board transport ships on the York River in an attempt to move upstream and land so as to cut off Johnston's retreat. However, it took 2 days just to board the men and equipment onto the ships, so the maneuver had no effect on the Battle of May the 5th. Franklin's division landed and fought in the Battle of Eltham's Landing on May the 7th. By May the 5th, Johnston's army was making slow progress on muddy roads, and Stoneman's cavalry was skirmishing with Brigadier General J.E.B. Stuart's cavalry, Johnston's rearguard. To give time for the bulk of his army to get free, Johnston detached part of his force to make a stand at a large earthen fortification, Fort Magruder, straddling the Williamsburg Road from Yorktown, constructed earlier by Brigadier General John B. Magruder. Brigadier General Joseph Hooker's 2nd Division of the 3rd Corps was the lead infantry in the Union Army advance. It assaulted Fort Magruder and a line of rifle pits and smaller fortifications that extended in an arc southwest from the fort, but was repulsed. Confederate counterattacks, directed by Major General James Longstreet, threatened to overwhelm Hooker's division, which had contested the ground alone since the early morning while waiting for the main body of the army to arrive. Hooker had expected Brigadier General William F. Baldy Smith's 2nd Division of the 4th Corps marching north on the Yorktown Road to hear the sound of battle and come in on Hooker's right in support. However, Smith had been halted by Sumner more than a mile away from Hooker's position. He had been concerned that the Confederates would leave their fortifications and attack him on the Yorktown Road. Longstreet's men did leave their fortifications, but they attacked Hooker, not Smith or Sumner. The brigade of Brigadier General Cadmus M. Wilcox applied strong pressure to Hooker's line. Regimental bands playing Yankee Doodle slowed the retreating troops as they passed by, allowing them to rally long enough to be aided by the arrival of Brigadier General Philip Kearny's 3rd Division of the III Corps at 2:30 p.m. Kearny ostentatiously rode his horse out in front of his picket lines to reconnoitre and urged his men forward by flashing his sabre with his only arm. The Confederates were pushed off the Lees Mill Road and back into the woods, and the abatis of their defensive positions. Their sharp firefights occurred until late into the afternoon. While Hooker continued to confront the Confederate forces in front of Fort Magruder, Brigadier General Winfield S. Hancock's 1st Brigade of Baldy Smith's division, which had marched a few miles to the Federal right and crossed Cubs Creek, at the point where it was dammed to form the James Mill Pond, began bombarding Longstreet's left flank around noon. Major General D.H. Hill, commanding Longstreet's reserve force, had previously detached a brigade under Brigadier General Jubal Early and posted them on the grounds of the College of William and Mary. Hearing the sounds of Union artillery, Early and Hill hurried in their direction. Splitting his command, Early led 2 of his 4 regiments, the 24th and the 38th Virginia Infantry, through the woods without performing adequate reconnaissance, and found that they were emerged not on the enemy's flank, but directly in front of Hancock's guns, which occupied 2 abandoned redoubts. He personally led the 24th Virginia on a futile assault and was wounded by a bullet through the shoulder, putting them out of action for almost 2 months. Also temporarily assigned to Early's brigade was the 2nd Mississippi and the 2nd Florida Infantry from Robert Rhodes's brigade. The commander of the 2nd Florida, Colonel George Ward, was killed leading a charge. Also killed in action was Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Irby of the 8th Alabama and Colonel Christopher Mott of the 19th Mississippi. A.P. Hill's brigade of 4 Virginia regiments suffered severe losses in the fighting, and 3 of its regimental commanders were wounded. Present on the field but unengaged or only involved in skirmishing or long-range shooting were the divisions of Magruder and the remainder of Hill's division. Hancock had been ordered repeatedly by Sumner to withdraw his command back to Cub Creek, but he used the Confederate attack as an excuse to hold his ground. As the 24th Virginia charged, D.H. Hill emerged from the woods leading one of Early's other regiments, the 5th North Carolina. He ordered an attack before realizing the difficulty of his situation. Hancock's 3,400 infantrymen and 8 artillery pieces significantly outnumbered the 2 attacking Confederate regiments, fewer than 1,200 men with no artillery support. He called off the assault after it had begun, but Hancock ordered a counterattack. The North Carolinians suffered 302 casualties, the Virginians 508. Union losses were about 100. After the battle, the counterattack received significant publicity as a major gallant bayonet charge, and McClellan's description of Hancock's superb performance gave him the nickname Hancock the Superb. At about 2 p.m., Brigadier General John J. Peck's brigade of Brigadier General Darius N. Couch's 1st Division of the IV Corps arrived to support and extend the right of Hooker's line, which had by this stage been pushed back from the cleared ground in the front of Fort Magruder, in the abatis and the heavy wood, about 600 to 1,000 yards from the Confederate fortifications. The morale of Hooker's troops had been affected terribly by the loss of Captain Charles H. Weber's Battery H of the 1st U.S. Light Artillery and Captain Walter M. Bramhill's 6th Battery of the New York Light Artillery. Peck's arrival on the field and his brigade's recovery of Bramhill's battery came at a critical moment for Hooker's division, which was on the verge of retreat. 3 Union regimental commanders were wounded in the battle, and Colonel William Dwight of the 70th New York Infantry was left behind on the field and captured by the Confederates. 1 regimental commander, Lieutenant Colonel John Van Leer of the 6th New Jersey, was killed in action. The Northern press portrayed the battle as a victory for the Federal Army. McClellan miscategorized it as a brilliant victory over superior forces. However, the defense of Williamsburg was seen by the South as a means of delaying the Federals, which allowed the bulk of the Confederate Army to continue its withdrawal towards Richmond. Confederate casualties, including the cavalry skirmishing on May the 4th, were 1,682. Union casualties were 2,283. If you found the information in this video informative, please feel free to give the video a thumbs up, and can also consider subscribing to the channel for more US Civil War information. Thank you very much for watching and listening. I shall see you in the next video.